Welcome to this very awesome special episode of Trauma Rockstars. I want to introduce everybody to Nick Prefontaine. He is a speaker and a best-selling author and has an incredible story to tell. You are not going to believe his story. It is just mind-blowing and what he has overcome. So, Nick, thank you so much. Welcome to the Trauma Rockstars podcast. I'm so excited to have you on.
I'm so excited to be here, Tracy.
So, when I first heard your story, and we have a few things in common with our journeys and everything like that. I'm not going to spill the beans because I'm just going to let you tell your story. But why don't you? How far back do you want to go?
I can go back to that day. I think that's a good jumping off point.
Yeah, horrific accident.
Well, Tracy, I don't want to bury the lead here. The it all started, my story at least, it all started when I was at ski club with my friends. I was only 14 years old, so I was in 8th grade. And I share that because what 14-year-old doesn't want to get released a little bit early from school. So that was always a big deal whenever we had ski club. So my friends and I actually, Tracy, we brought our snowboard gear onto the bus to get
Mhm.
ready so as not to miss a precious moment once we got to the mountain. The mountain headed right for the chairlift. On the ride up, we noticed that it was very icy because it had been raining. So people were wiping out everywhere. And that definitely didn't slow us down. We knew what we were doing. And where the chairlift went over was right over the terrain park, where all the jumps and rails were for those of you
Mhm.
non-skiers and snowboarders out there. I knew as soon as I saw it that I had to go off the biggest jump in the terrain parks. I mean, there wasn't even a moment of thinking, "Oh, should I be careful because it was raining or maybe I shouldn't do it." I was definitely doing it. I mean, right down to the fact that I was already thinking about what we were going to do after I landed that huge trick. Maybe grab a burger and fries in the lodge, or we could head over to the other chairlift for some runs on those trails. I was just happy to be there finally. So I got to the top, buckled into my snowboard, took a breath of that crisp winter air, and confidently charged towards that jump with all my speed. And going up to the jump, I caught the edge of my snowboard, and that's the last thing that I remember. Due to the severity of my accident, they wanted to bring a helicopter to the mountain to rush me to the hospital, and they couldn't because it was too windy. So they had to send
Oh.
in an ambulance. And then it's always retelling this is always easy for me just because there's always 3 things that I really credit to, being able to be here today with you and your listeners and tell the story. So the first one was the right paramedic. So out of the 6 paramedics, there was only 1 who could intubate on the spot, and I needed that to be able to breathe, and he was one of the paramedics that showed up to the mountain that day. And there are several things that I can't explain because of the accident. Now I know that one of them is the reason why I'm here with you today. So, no matter the severity of your crisis, your decision to take action is your first step. So, something else I learned was that, Tracy, my goggles were the only protection that my head had. They told me, this is eyewitness accounts, doctors, experts. They told me that not only did they brace my initial impact, but as I continued to roll down the mountain and continued to my head, my goggles mysteriously moved to cushion each blow between my head and the ice. And then after I made it to the hospital, I mean, I was out for the count in the intensive care unit. Parents were the only ones allowed in that room at that time. And every time the doctors were just doing their job, so no fault of their own, but they came into my room to share the not so positive news, not so positive news, not so positive news, and right in front of me, not thinking anything of it. And my mom stopped them. She said, "No, no, not in front of him," because she understood that even though I was in a coma, I was still taking in information. So she made the doctors step outside the room. And then once they were there, that's when they told my parents that I probably wouldn't be able to walk, talk, or eat on my own ever again. And even if I was able to make it out of the coma, there was a good chance that I would need 24-hour care for the rest of my life. So my parents didn't accept this like a death sentence, like so many patients do. So they took the information, thanked the doctors, and then allowed me to treat it like any other situation. So once I was aware of my surroundings and the work that was left in front of me, I treated it like any other situation. I got up, did the best I could, and I kept getting better every day. So a month after my accident, I was transported to a rehab hospital in Boston. And initially, I resided on the third floor, which was reserved for the most critical of cases. And I really hardly have any memory of being on the third floor, Tracy, because they were in the process of taking me off of all the drugs and medication from a partially induced coma. I still had a long road to go. I mean, the most that I could do was sit up in bed, supported by three nurses for only 8 minutes at a time. And after that, I was sweating profusely like I had just ran a marathon. I mean, it's not like, although these nurses probably didn't appreciate me sweating all over them in these 8 minutes, this was one of my first steps. So
What was Nick, really quick, I just wanna back up just a second. What were all your injuries?
this may surprise you and surprise a lot of people, but with my snowboarding accident, I didn't break a bone in my body. I drank a lot of milk. Not that I particularly had an affinity for milk. I just love cereal. So I
Mhm.
had several bowls of cereal a day, and so I think that
The
that
calcium.
yeah, that really plays into it, but I caught myself and I said, "Did what bones did you break?" And I said, "I didn't break any bones. It was just a traumatic brain injury." And they said they kind of leaned in and they said, "Just a traumatic brain injury?" So I was like, "Yeah, I guess." And then that's where I really began my journey. I began my journey of having to learn how to walk, talk, and eat again. I mean, there were long days. I'd have double sessions of physical, occupational, and speech therapy 5 days a week. And so I would get up, just to give you an example, I'd get up and then I would need help learning how to shower again.
Mhm.
And so basic as like I didn't know anything. So I had to learn like the water came like you Nick, you do the water before the soap, like that basic. And then after that, I would have breakfast and then off to my first therapy sessions of the day, physical, occupational, and speech therapy. And if I could, early on in my recovery, I'll just paint you a picture, something that actually happened. I remember being in the hospital. It was in the rehab hospital. I was still in a wheelchair at the time and I wasn't even that audible. I mean, if anything, it was a whisper, but more than likely, I think it was mouthing words. I remember being in my hospital at one of those breaks because that's what I would do for that half an hour, 45 minutes. I go back to my room with my mom, who was with me at that time. She was my support. And I was looking over my situation and being in a wheelchair and everything, and I just couldn't figure it out. So I remember turning to her and saying, "Mom, am I ever going to be able to walk again?" She didn't even hesitate. She said, "Of course you are. That's what we're doing here. So you can get everything back and we can go home." So I bring this up because it was definitely a moment of doubt, but just because we all have those moments of doubt. So whenever I share my story and people learn of my story, they go, "Oh yeah, it must be easy for you. You got in your accident and, you were told that or your parents were told that you probably wouldn't walk, talk, read again, then you ran out of the hospital. Yeah, great." And it kinda gets like, I don't know, they feel like, "Oh, okay, I couldn't do that. That sounds like a great story. I have doubts," and that kind of thing. That's why I share that, because we all have doubts. That's why I think that's so important to share. Tracy, it was right around that time that I started to unknowingly use a system to not only make a full recovery, but run out of the hospital, and that's the STEP system. So STEP is an acronym, and what I can do is give like a 10,000-foot view, and that if anyone is interested at the end, I can let them know how they can go to my website and download it for free. STEP stands for support. Make sure you have the support of your family and friends right from the beginning. This is going to have you falling back on relationships that you built prior to your setback. T is for trust. Trust that once you take your first step, your next step's always going to be available to you. And this also starts with trusting that voice that we all have inside of ourselves, but too often we dismiss it as being unrealistic and I could never do that, imposter syndrome, all that stuff. But
Mhm.
you have to tune into that voice and listen to it because you're hearing that guidance for a reason. And I'll get into that a little bit later and really why that guidance led me to what I'm doing today. Um, E is energy. Maintaining your energy allows your body's natural ability to be able to heal itself. And medication has the potential to get in the way of that. So, obviously, within reason here, I mean, that first night in the hospital cost $250,000.
Right.
So, if it wasn't for modern medicine, I wouldn't be here today. However, there's a use, time, and place for everything. So, a month after my accident, when I came out of the ICU, was a time that we needed to allow the body to heal itself. But energy continues to evolve. I mean, energy for me isn't just staying off medication now. It's
Right.
several other things, which I'm happy to get into detail with you later. P is persistence. So once you've taken your first step, keep getting up every day and taking your next step, no matter how small. And by continuing to move forward every day, you are building an unstoppable momentum. So if you fast forward less than 60 days later, I realized my goal of running out of the hospital. And if I could, where that goal came from, I think that's important because it goes back to trust. So I can remember overhearing my parents talking with my team of doctors and therapists. And they were saying, okay, they would meet with them every week. And this is even before I could talk. So they would meet with them every week. And I could overhear them saying, okay, what do we need to do to make sure Nick makes a full recovery? I heard in the back of my head, Tracy, you're going to run out of the hospital.
Mhm.
So then I was able to communicate that. I could have very easily said, oh, no, that's crazy. I want to make a full recovery and walk out of here. But I listened to that and I made sure everyone knew my goal of running out of the hospital. So I just think that that's so important because too many of us discount that voice as being unrealistic. I can tell you want to say something.
Well, no, it stayed on you stayed focused on that, and do you remember and this is probably not when you were in ICU, because I don't either, but when, you got moved into the rehab area, do you remember feeling like, "I can't do this at all"? Did you have thoughts of giving up, or were you just like, "No, I'm gonna walk, I'm gonna shower myself again. I'm going to speak again." Did you just stay focused, or did you have like dark times that you're like, I don't know if I can keep doing this?
Dark times, the only moment of doubt that I had is what I shared. I credit that to my parents because and the support system around me that really kept me focused on my goal, which was to run out of the hospital. And to me, there was no other alternative. Any of this noise didn't get through to me. So I didn't know any of this. So the doctor said this, the doctor said that. I just looked at it as okay, this is how it was trying to make okay, this happened, sucks, okay, it's
Huh?
a thing, it happened. Now we just need to do these couple things so we can get back home and get back to life. That's how it was, that's how I interpret it, not necessarily how
Right.
it was framed for me, but that's how I interpreted it. So it just I don't know. I really days off weren't really a thing. Like even on the weekends, I'd be even after double sessions of physical, occupational, and speech therapy, I asked them, what are some extra exercises that I can do that will get me to my goal faster? So they gave me extra exercises. I'd be doing them on the nights, the weekends, because I knew that by doing them, that was going to help me reach that goal that much faster. It was never it was never an option, I
Hmm.
guess, is the way to answer that. And if I could say one more thing, I mean, we I think we have like 40 minutes left, so I wanted to say a few more things. But the support. So that's a sticking point. Being that there are a lot of people out there who don't have like immediate family and they figure lucky for you, you have support and you have immediate family. Uh,
Right.
I don't have that, so therefore,
For
a lot of people, as I was saying, Tracy, feel like because I don't have a supportive family, therefore the step system and what you teach and your message wouldn't really apply to me. That really couldn't be further from the truth because the support in the step system doesn't have to be your immediate family. It can be a friend always asking if they can help, a neighbor, even a coworker, even someone that wasn't friendly with you before your either accident or your event, your injury, whatever. But they always are coming around to see if there's something they can do to help and support you. But you're closing yourself off to it because you're thinking, no, no, my support can only be family. So I think we need to, as a society, be more open to support and receiving support and help from anywhere, even other than family. I mean, I was 14 when I got my accident, so it was my immediate family, my parents and my sister, but I mean, it doesn't have to be. And I think that's definitely a point of distinction for sure.
and I don't know about you, but for me, when I was in, the in and out, for years of the hospital, the nurses and the doctors were incredible. Even the medical assistants, they're such a source of support because that's what they do for a living. And
Mm.
they, I was able to cling on to them as well for additional support because they're there firsthand caring for you. And did you find that you got support? I mean, you had a great support system. I mean, your mom was with you the whole time and your parents, but did you find any surprising support systems out there that you didn't expect?
It was, yeah. So it was for me at least, and I can only speak of my experience. It was my mom and her parents, my grandparents were
Yeah.
in there during the day, pretty much every day during the week and even on the weekends. And then at night, when my mom went home, my dad would actually pass her
Mm.
kind of on the highway, and he would always stay with me for the night, and then he would sleep in a cot next to my bed. So one of the things within STEP, the ebook and the STEP system in general, is to always make sure you have someone with you, an advocate with you, because if you don't, your mind can very easily
Mhm.
spiral into think worst case scenario in this, but if
Yeah.
you always have someone with you, you're less prone to that. So that was a big deal. It was to have that support during at least during the acute the
Yeah.
immediate aftermath of my traumatic brain injury to have family there and the support. And really I mean, it continued after that. If you fast forward less than 60 days later, I ran out of the hospital. I realized my goal. And it really wasn't like that was the end. Okay, Nick, you're all set.
Well, that's just the beginning.
Yeah, that was just the beginning.
A whole nother cycle of
Yeah.
healing. So, yeah.
And I mean, I could go back to school, but I wasn't able to be with my classmates in 8th grade. I would go to school for the mornings, and then I would get tutored,
Mhm.
for 3 hours, a private tutor to help get me
Yeah.
caught up, and then I would go to lunch with my friends, which was the best part of my day because I get to hang out with my friends and everything. Then my mom would get me and, drive me to outpatient therapy. So I would have not double sessions, but I would have
Yeah.
single sessions of physical, occupational, and speech therapy. And I had to maintain the outpatient therapy for 6 months after I ran out of the hospital, along with getting tutored all summer long, 5 days a week, that same like rhythm of 3 hours a day in
Yeah.
order to continue on to high school with the rest of my classmates.
So your step system, it's a video series, right?
So it's the step system. Step the ebook is what I'm gonna give away for free, and that's an ebook. Then I have in addition, if you've gone through the ebook and you kind of want to go deeper and you want to learn more, then we have the step video series, which is the only product I have. It's only $37, but it's a video course. it goes through it's the next best thing to one-on-one coaching
Mhm.
because I do one-on-one coaching with people, but it's like the next best thing, meaning that I'm able to be in their corner, have a video for each letter, support, trust, energy, and persistence, coaching them through like identifying their support and
Mhm.
giving them reasons they can trust and then how they can focus on the energy and persistence. There's videos for each letter, and there's workbooks for each letter, and exercises and things like that. But that's like the next best thing to working with me one on one, like private one on one.
When I know you were 14 when this happened and everything, during from 14 till now, were there times when you found yourself kind of mourning or grieving the loss of who you were before the accident?
I'm sure.
Mhm.
I'm sure it was a few things come to mind. It was because yeah, I came home and that summer immediately after my accident, I came home. I still had to get tutored. I still had to go to outpatient therapy. But then I still wanted to hang out with my friends and do everything. And when I was doing that, it was like, okay, it's good to like be back and like hanging out with them. But it was
Different?
different. It was
Yeah.
different because I wasn't really I think I was trying to in the moment, at least when I was in high school, I didn't differentiate between the person I was from before the accident and the person I was after the accident. I was the same person in my mind.
Mhm.
So, I wanted to do everything just like I did before, and the reality was I couldn't. So, yeah, it was an adjustment for sure. But I mean, the older and older I get, I mean, I really think it was a blessing too, because I'm seeing it now that I'm looking back and telling the story so many times on on different people's podcasts like yours here. There is really like light is being shown on it, and I'm really seeing it like, it was a blessing because the person that was before the accident and the person was after the accident, that's 2 different people. In order to move forward and to keep getting better, it's actually a disservice, and I tell this to people I work with all the time. It's a disservice to compare where you were before your trauma, before your accident or whatever happened, it's unfair to compare yourself now to then. All you can focus on is just keep getting better every day. Because if you keep looking backwards, you're not going to get anywhere.
Looking back is only for time travelers.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So
Yeah, I always say that that's where I've been, it's not where I'm going, you know?
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah, interesting point that you brought that up. So, if you fast forward a little bit after finishing outpatient therapy, this is actually crazy to me. Tracy was pointed out by a mentor 4 years ago when I was working with her one on one to start Common Goal and everything, which I think we have enough time. I'll get into that a little bit later. But I was working with him. She said, "Well, wait a minute. You after finishing your rehab from being in a coma for 3 weeks." You were you were, door knocking because I was door knocking pre-foreclosure doors only 18 months later after finishing my rehab. So, like, when you're younger, time is compressed.
Yeah,
So, like, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months seems like a lifetime.
it
However,
does.
it's not that far. And the older I get, the more I see that
Right.
it's really not that far at all. And, just to look back only 18 months later after finishing my rehab, I was going to some not so good areas of cities and door knocking like 50 to 70 doors a day for homeowners that have received the notice of default letter from the bank. So, meaning that they had missed several payments on their mortgage and the bank hadn't foreclosed yet. So, I was in some pretty hairy situations, and my goal was to schedule meetings for one of my dad's investors to meet with them the following week about potentially real estate investors, that is, about potentially buying their house. So yeah, it was interesting, I guess. And it was the best training that you can get because you're dealing with people you know, face to face. And you gotta have something compelling to say, or else you're gonna get a lot of doors slammed in your face. So I did that throughout high school. After high school, got my real estate license, started working with buyers and sellers. And then in 2012, I developed a voice issue. It almost sounded like it was like really hard for me to get the words out. Like I almost sounded like someone was like strangling me like that.
Interesting.
And I was looking everywhere for answers, allergists, regular physician, everywhere. No one could really give me.
ENTs, yeah.
Yeah, well, Auntie was the one that was one of the ones that I saw, and, he recommended that I go and he said, "Well, you should probably go, to a voice specialist, in Boston, and there's only, like, 35 of these people in the whole country, even the continent." So, I was like, "No, no, no, I'll just, I'll get some rest, I'll be okay." So, I ended up going to speech therapy because I knew I was familiar with speech therapy, so I went to that on my own, did that for 6 months, didn't really get anywhere. I found ways for dealing with the issue, but nothing I ever did was really fixing it. Then in 2013, I finally wound up in a voice specialist office in Boston. And the guy walked in the room, heard me speak, and right away nonchalantly goes, "That? Yeah, we deal with that all the time. Go see the front desk and schedule yourself for Botox injection in a couple weeks." I was like blown away because here I was looking everywhere for a year. No one could tell me what was wrong. And this guy just put me so at ease. So I started getting Botox injections into my vocal folds
Mhm.
in 2013. Then I had to continue to get those. The last one, obviously, I don't need them anymore. My voice is fine. The voice issue has worked its way out of my system. I got those until February 13th. The last one I had was February 13th of 2020.
Okay. So it's
So
been 6 years almost.
yeah. So I don't need that anymore, but I mean right along that way, at the end of 2014 or during 2014, my dad came to me and I was so real with that at the time and he wanted me to help him sell, not listing them, but sell, put on the rental market all his properties that he was buying creatively. So
Mhm.
he was buying homes creatively as a real estate investor at that time, non-conventionally, so without signing personally on
Yeah.
bank loans or using big down payments or anything. He was accumulating all these. He needed help putting them on the rent home market. So I first started with, oh, okay, I can help you with putting them on the market. Then that turned into, oh, shoot, I need to hire someone to handle all these calls that are coming in. So over the course of 12 or 13 months, my income shifted where I was making the majority with him as an investor. So it didn't even make sense for me to keep my real estate license. So in January of 2016, I resigned my real estate license and joined him full time. Now in 2016 was the first year we started holding events where we have everyone from who we help across the country come in. And I've always had the opportunity to tell my story. I always thought, and it's only been 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. So I always thought, okay, because ever since I've graduated from high school, back to the voice in the back of your head, I've always had this voice, Tracy, that's been saying, no matter what I'm doing, yeah, great, Nick. But what you really need to be doing is telling your story from stage and helping trauma survivors thrive with the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
It's always been there no matter what, and I can't get rid of it.
Right.
So,
Because it's your calling.
absolutely. And it's what I'm doing today. So in 2019, after hearing me tell my story, I was approached by a woman named Sharon Spano. And Sharon said that she complimented me on my talk and said if I was ever looking to fine tune my message so I could help the most amount of people, she could introduce me to a few coaches and mentors that have helped her along the way.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, I wasn't ready yet because, like I shared earlier, I was in the final throes of that voice issue
Yeah.
that I was dealing with, but I always hung on to her card. And in May of 2021, after the voice issue had worked its way out of my system, I finally reached out to her. She introduced me to her mentor, Trisha Brook, and Trisha recommended that I do the speaker salon for $25,000 in New York City that fall, 2021. At a soul level, I had to do this because it goes back to following the voice in the back of your head. So ever since my first call with her, there's been no voice in the back of my head. I had to do this. And then halfway through the speaker salon, Trisha pitched the idea of what it would look like to work with her one on one.
Mhm.
She told me that she works with speakers to build out their speaker platform. I didn't even know what that was at the time. However, and she said that's 75,000. So $75,000. I said
For you to work with her one-on-one.
one on one. So
Okay.
I said, I don't have that in my back pocket. However, give me a week and I'll figure it out. Because again, I would call on the calling.
Yeah.
That voice, I had to do it. I had to figure it out. To me, it wasn't even a choice. So I wired him the money 6 days later. And really looking back now, 4 years later, it's kind of mind boggling how far I've come. Now I'm telling my story at brain injury associations and
Yeah.
alliances all across the country, other organizations that support individuals that are going through trauma, and also sharing my story and message and step system on like shows like this. All of it wouldn't have been possible if I didn't say yes to work with Trisha in that 3-second decision.
That's incredible. That wasn't an accident that that fell into you, and I'm so glad you hung on to that card for a year and a half later, and, because you weren't ready and you knew it, but you still followed your heart, and you were able to start when you were ready. Any regrets?
No,
No,
you
like,
can't.
just in general, I don't mean with this, but just in general, if you look back, like, would you do anything differently?
No, because it led me to where I am today. Prior to working with Trisha, I mean, when Sharon saw me speak in 2019, that was a big deal for me. That was the
Oh,
longest
yeah.
I'd ever spoke before. That was like maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And I was like just so nervous. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm gonna do this right kind of thing. And
Mhm.
now I do 45 and 60-minute plus keynotes
Right.
without notes or anything, all of it wouldn't have been possible. And common goal. So all this was like common goal, the step system was just in my head. It's always the way I've dealt with anything in my life. It's how I was raised. So it's a funny story actually. Trisha on our first call said to me, "Okay, so you have this amazing story that you were in a snowboarding accident, you were in a coma for 3 weeks, and then you ran out of the hospital. How'd you do it?" I said, "I don't know. I just kept getting up every day and doing the best I could." She goes, "No, not good enough." And
Yeah.
kept asking me like 6 or 7 layers deep to the point where I was like really frustrated with her. I only had like 10 calls with her. So, obviously I was paying a lot of money for these calls. And I think I may have even ended that call early, but I'm so happy that I did that. I went through that process with her because she pulled the step system out of me. And it's like 80 to 90% of what I'm doing to this day. So,
That's incredible. And I think it's so great that you found a way because you had to invest in yourself. And that's like you gave yourself such a gift doing that. That's what I'm in the process of doing that for trying to figure out like what the next step is to invest in myself. And I'm doing a lot of research and just following my heart, to what feels right. And I love that you're a keynote speaker now at the Brain Injury Association and all kinds of other platforms. I know we only have a few minutes left, but I just want to ask you if you could hone in a little bit on the E in your step system because I'm all about the energy. And
oh, yeah, I love this. So,
explain like how you learned about energy and and things like that.
when it was the acute injury in the accident, all I could focus on and all my parents could focus on was, okay, let's get Nick off the medication as soon as you can to allow the body's natural ability to be able to heal itself. Even when I was in the coma, I this isn't something I had control over, but when I was in the coma, they had someone come in and perform Reiki on me. So like it's always been a part of my life, I guess, and now, like, the what I mean, always been a part of my life, so, like, the natural treatments, the
Mhm.
therapies, that kind of thing, so now, to this day, once every 5 weeks, we'll go to see I mean, for lack of a better term, I call him my master or teacher.
Yeah.
Go see him for Tui Na, which is basically a form of it's Chinese body work. It's like a
Mhm.
form of body work, and then afterwards he does cupping. Ming was the one who actually, Dr. Ming Wu was actually the one that taught me how to meditate. Energy to me, is all about this. Like all of this fits together. So I do,
Yes, it's a yes,
yeah.
and I love that you know this.
So I do these treatments once every 5 weeks to help keep my energy high, and in tune so I can impact and affect the most amount of people possible. And that also is goes with meditation. So now I've worked up to now I meditate for anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week. I meditate and do qigong.
Mhm.
That's like a combination. So I'll do that 3 to 4 times a week. Ming was the one who actually taught me how to do it in 2009. And I know we don't have a ton of time here. So I'll give a few resources. There is a talk I did in New York City at the Triad Theater called My Introduction to Stillness Was a Coma. And that's a great introduction to meditation. And it's how you can find that on my website too. But if you just, it's a YouTube. It's a talk that I did in New York City in 2024, and it really tells how Ming introduced me to meditating and how simple it is. I
It
think
it really it's
everyone makes it so,
frustrating, but it's simple.
yeah. I think everyone out there makes it so like this insurmountable thing, but
Yeah, and it's not.
it's not. The thing is, you just have to do it. There are
Yep.
so many people that
Just show up. Just show I do it every day. I meditate every day. Some days I just like, I might just have a couple minutes. Sometimes I might have to just do it in the shower, in the morning, just all you have to do is show up.
that's right.
What would you tell so people are listening to this and can you just explain how important the energy piece of it can help change your frame of mind and your thought process?
So, yes, I will. The thing and people when they this is a perfect place to do it. They can download the step system for free
Yep.
at nickprefontaine.com/step. You can also check out the other talks that I've done there. But the energy is important. I think it's really the what I found is the step is important. Like you have to if you have the support,
Mhm.
and you have your support lined up, then as long as you have your support, you can trust that once you take your first step, your next step is always going to be there. Then once you've had the S and the T established, then you can move on to E energy. Having that ritual, that maintenance ritual to take care of your energy allows you to continue to persist for as long as it
Yeah.
takes until you get there. So
Mhm.
that's like that's like 10,000 foot view. That's like
It
a
is.
30 that's like 100,000 foot view of the step system.
Well, and it's so generous of you to offer the ebook because I think it's a starting point for people that might feel overwhelmed, not know where to begin, and that would be and then from there, they could maybe reach out to you for the one-on-one coaching that you offer to help guide and mentor them, or even the video series you have as an option if they
Mm.
can't, do the one-on-one with you. And I'll, of course, include all of your contact information and the show notes and on the links and everything for this so people know how to get in touch with you. Just 1 minute. Give us some words of wisdom. One last thought.
So there are a lot of people out there that are stuck. They're stuck either after a setback, or even they've had a setback in their recovery and they don't know what to do next. And or people who are overwhelmed by all the options in front of them. The number one thing that I could leave you with is I think we all know it. We all have some inkling of what we should be doing. One small baby step is going to be a positive action in the direction of our goals, our dreams, and where we want to be. Just take that small baby step because once you take that small baby step, your next step's always going to be available.
Yeah. I love that, especially it's literally just a bunch of baby steps that form a big, huge outcome. So just take those little steps every single day, even if it's just doing a 1 minute meditation to start out with. But it's so important. Like you owe that to yourself. Like you deserve that.
Yeah, and, it's funny because once you, like, one of the things with MP, which I haven't really got a chance to talk about too much, is by continuing to move forward every day. So you said it, I didn't say it, but you said it, the even if it's just for 1 minute, even if it's just even 30 seconds of a meditation, you're going to continue to build that momentum that's gonna become unstoppable.
Mm.
But you can't access that momentum if you stop or you don't start.
Right. Oh my gosh. I'm writing that down. You just gave me so inspiring, Nick, to hear your story. We have similarities in our healing journeys and everything, and it's just nice to hear you talk about like how you never lost focus and you stayed positive. You know, you really beat all the odds because you weren't even supposed to be talking to me right now, let alone walking and, living an independent life. So I'm so honored to meet you and have you on this. Thank you so much. And welcome to the Trauma Rockstar family. Because you're a trauma rock star.
Feel like I'm home, Tracy.
Thank you so much, Nick. Have an amazing, amazing rest of your day.
You too.
The content on this podcast revolves around personal life experiences and is meant to serve as a learning tool. I am not a certified therapist or medical expert. This podcast doesn't offer medical, psychological, or professional advice. If you're curious about your mental or physical well being, feel free to reach out to a licensed healthcare professional for assistance.